And right there at that moment, she kneeled for her master for the first time in 10 years.
Wow.
And they burst into tears, both of them. The whole room stopped and was in tears.
Welcome. Welcome to my dungeon.
Welcome to Cauldron's Crypt. I'm your host, Master Cauldron. If you're new to the show, I use my 24 years of BDSM experience and 20 years working in the psychology field to dispel myths, get rid of stereotypes, and answer your questions about BDSM. You can call in at 865-268-4005 to leave your questions or visit the crypt at cauldronscrypt.com. On this episode of The Crypt, we have two interviews from vendors at DomCon LA 2019. The first one is Ashley from the Crafty Hedonist, and the second one, who you heard a clip from, is Chris from Torrid Timber.com. So let's hit those rules to love by and jump straight into the interviews. Rule number 1, safe, sane, consensual, and informed. Rule number 2, kinky. That's KNKI and comes from the Kinky app, available on all platforms. Not a sponsor, but it does stand for knowledge, no intolerance, kindness, and integrity. And the quote from Mr. Paul Young: submission is not about obedience and it's not about authority. It is all about relationships of love and respect. And still here at DomCon, day 1, Friday. And now we have somebody who is in a booth beside me that I'm just absolutely thrilled to death about. Their products are amazing. It's the Crafty Hedonist.
Hello.
Hello. So we were just talking about your toys and how you come up with this idea. Tell people what it is that you went to school for.
I actually double majored in digital media and fine art painting.
So when I say that these are some of the most artistic pleasure toys I've seen, I'm not kidding. And
quite literal.
Yes, they are beautiful, folks. I just can't get over it. What made you decide to get into the toy business?
Basically trying to keep myself aloft. I've been making props for over 10 years, and 3D printing has actually kind of taken away some of my business. And I was literally just wandering around on Etsy looking at mermaid dildos, and I kind of went around, I'm like, wow, there's actually not a whole lot for geeky stuff, which is surprising because there's so many people who write fan fiction and, fantasize about these characters that they love so much, and yet there's not a lot of toys that cater to them. And when they do, they tend to be jokes. It's Mjolnir with a dildo instead of a hammer. It's, a sword with a dildo instead of a blade. And they're funny, but not necessarily sexy or even pretty. Mm-hmm. And I figured that's a niche that hasn't been filled yet, so now I can fill your niche.
So I know I've been looking at one particular tentacle knot.
Oh yeah, the undertow.
Yes, but what other products do you have over there?
Well, for those who like symbiotes, we have the liquor, which is inspired by Venom from Spider-Man.
Oh, nice.
We have a unicorn horn. We have the Iron Bull, inspired by a Canary from Dragon Age. Various different aliens inspired by Mass Effect characters and species. And yeah, it kind of goes on like that.
So you know all these characters.
Yeah, basically the way I design is from personal knowledge. I'm trying not to design just a shallow piece. I look at an alien, I'm like, I wonder what it's like. And kind of go from there.
And that's one of the things that I've found with other makers of fantasy products is, one, they are campy.
Yeah.
And two, they're making it because they want to make $1 off of it.
Pretty much.
For you, it's a passion.
Yeah. Yeah, it was
You
a
can see it in
surprising
your
one. I
face.
can't exactly say that I wanted to do this 10 years ago, but once I started and I stopped laughing at myself, I had a lot of fun with it. You know, in my original sketches, you can see in the margins as I went to art school, what happened to my life? But no, I've actually really found that I enjoy doing this, and it's both fun for me and fun to see that other people really appreciate what I do and get fulfillment out of it in one way or the other. Either because now they get to finish the fantasy of their favorite character, or just because it's just straight up a good sex toy. You know, either way, I win.
Yeah, it always helps me sleep better at night when I've known that I'm responsible for someone else being satisfied.
Yeah, no, and I've had some friends that have bought for me, out of the book, so to say, and then have let me know how much they appreciated my stuff. I'm like, thank you for that graphic content.
Now, I've got to be a little cheeky for a minute. Do you test drive every product?
I do, actually. It's something that I had to get over the embarrassment of, because everybody masturbates, get
Yes.
over it. It's just when I have to let people know that specifically, hey, I masturbated yesterday with this particular toy, enjoy. But it's more that I always say that line of don't trust the skinny chef.
Yes.
Don't trust anybody who's not willing to use their own dildos, basically. So, and also I want to be able to give honest opinions about things. There's a couple of toys here that are just straight up too big for me that I'm not comfortable with, but I know other people will be. However, most of the other toys I make with tapered tips because most people, well, me, doesn't want to deal with prep work. I don't want to have to work for a half hour just so I can get around to using my toy. I just want to do it. So they'll start out narrow at the top, get fat at the base, and people can bear down on it as they're ready for it. And I like being able to recommend things for people because I'll get a lot of people who haven't gotten fantasy toys before, and they're kind of basically stuck to the standard humanoid looking penis. And so they can get intimidated when they first look at this stuff. And I'm like, okay, no, look, there's you can go with this one, this one, this one. These are great starter pieces. They look interesting. They have good lobes to them, but you also not going to get scared by it or really have to work for it. But you get to have all that stimulation. And people like that.
Is there any special care with your products?
Because they're all silicone, basically you just can't use silicone-based lube or soaps with them. Beyond that, they're actually pretty low maintenance. The only ones I would say, like if you have one that has a lot of grooves and texture, obviously make sure that the fluids and stuff get cleaned out of there. But typically you can just use, my favorite is just H2O, Anal Glide, the water-based stuff, because it's easier to clean up afterwards. And then you use foaming soap and warm water, and that's pretty much it. You can even throw it in a semi-boiling pot just to get the extra bacteria off like every couple of months if you really want to be paranoid about it. But no, their maintenance is actually pretty low level.
Now, Cryptors, I don't endorse very many products, but this one I will absolutely stand behind. Where are your products on the interwebs?
They're available on Etsy at etsy.com/the shop/the Crafty Hedonist, or if you just do a Google search for it, we should pop up pretty quick.
Now, the Crafty Hedonist is a name that people should easily remember. I love it.
Yeah, because I live for pleasure and I make it by hand, so I figured it's a good name.
And I will put a link in the show notes, and I may throw a link straight on the front page of my website because this person, she is phenomenal. I cannot say it enough. You really need to get in there and check her stuff out at etsy.com/shop/the Crafty Hedonist, or swap in your listening device and you'll find it right there in the show notes. Is there anything else that you would like to say about your product?
Just always keep an eyeball on the shop because I come up with new designs all the time. I'm working on a Hellboy piece, Abe Sapien, and I really need to figure out if this guy has a name, but the robot from Lost in Space. The Danger Will Robinson guy.
Yes, he does.
But the new Netflix one, because, yeah, that's a really pretty robot. I'm not doing the 1950s, here's a tube and some wire from Home Depot. The new guy with the pretty face that looks like a marble and all that jazz. But yeah, keep an eyeball out because I come up with new stuff all the time. And, awesome. I can hit your fetish anytime soon. Oh, and I also am available for commissions. So if you have something very special in mind, I'm happy to make it for you.
Like a clone of Willie?
Huh?
Like a clone of Willie?
Sure. I literally made a cobra for somebody because that was their theme for their fetish party. And I'm like, cool. That's an interesting one, but I will do it because it made me laugh.
I don't think I've ever found an artist and a toy maker together in one person. So I think that's why I'm so taken with you. Or it could be the red hair and the smile. I don't know.
Hey, it doesn't hurt.
Sorry, pink hair.
Yeah, get it right, man.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, all right. Well, thank you so very much for chatting with me, and I look forward to sending people your way.
Thank you very much.
It is Sunday, Mother's Day at DomCon Los Angeles 2019, and we have with us Chris from Torrid Timber. You can find them at torridtimber.com for some amazingly vicious torture devices. So, Chris, welcome to the Crypt.
Thank you so much.
How are you enjoying DomCon?
It's good. It's always a good show. The way that people go well out of their way to present themselves is always interesting. Every show has its kind of own personality. And so that's part of the fun, is to go into different shows and seeing how everything presents.
I have certainly noticed that.
This is a seen and be seen kind of show.
Yes, and I'm loving it. So how many years have you been here?
I believe this is my 4th DomCon.
So you are well experienced. You're a DomCon master at this point.
All too often, DomCon masters you as opposed to you mastering it.
As I struggle to keep my eyelids open, I can't even begin to disagree with that. So with Torrid Timber, what is it that you do?
Well, I work primarily in wood, and really my focus is on redesigning to be better. Too often, the things that are produced are copies of copies with small adjustments. And I like to look at something and go, I can do that better. Now, the moment that I say that, I try to do better and immediately reminded that better is hard. and that sucks. But once you power through and make it happen, that's really the thing, is that I love creating beautiful artistic pieces that have a design that takes them one step further. And in all of that, I've found that probably my biggest kink is creating amazing pieces and watching people enjoy them.
Nice. So you have a voyeuristic aspect to you. Now, do you use these on people yourself?
I do.
So you are also a kinkster, not just a vendor?
Yes.
Okay. Which there's nothing wrong with that if that's the case, because we certainly need creative brains to make the things that we love to play with. How long have you been into the kink scene?
I have always kind of played in that realm, but nothing, structured. In a lot of ways, my personal initiation to kink was about the same time as my business initiation to kink. The origin of Torrid Timber is that a friend of mine who is in the scene saw a piece of furniture that I had built. It was a laundry basket, laundry hamper, and looks like a piece of furniture. It looks like a piece of cabinetry. And she saw that and her eyes lit up and she said, is that a cage and can I get in it? And my response was, no. But sure. Do you want the dirty clothes in or out? What kind of an experience are you looking for? And she was suitably disappointed that it wasn't a cage, but asked me, well, could you build me one? And I said, yeah, absolutely. And then I asked a question that confused her. And it was, what do you want the cage to do? What kind of an experience are you looking for from the cage? And that's the design question. That's the connection question. That's the question that too often doesn't get asked, right? Here's the thing, use the thing. as opposed to what do you want to experience with the thing. And that started a conversation with her that led me to understand more about what she was looking for. And then I was able to present her with ideas that were nowhere near what was in her head, but they met her desires. And that, I think, is an important component to what I produce. And so then it led to, well, could you build this? Sure. Could you build that? Sure. Could you build? I don't know what that is. Hang on. Google. Oh, yeah, I could build that.
What struck me was I was walking by, and I love craftsmanship. I build lots of different things myself. So anytime I see something that's particularly built out of wood, I take notice. And I saw the beautiful breast torture devices that you had over there, and then quickly thought of a friend in Tennessee, and okay, do you have this smaller maybe for CBT use? And never missing a beat.
Yes, I do.
Your helper was like, right here it is. And I'm like, oh, that's nice. The thought that goes into this, and you, the listener, I'm obviously going to talk to you for just a minute because Chris is well aware of his product, but to have this crank on it that you get that dungeon click, click, click as you tighten things down.
It creates a Pavlovian response that is just adds so much to the scene and the experience.
It's beautiful. It makes my sadistic tingly bits just go crazy. I was looking at buying a hoist to put in our play space, and you've got, $100 to $1,000 auto push button electric hoists. And then I look over, and for $30, there's a hand crank.
It
And
makes that very specific hand cranky noise.
And I was like, okay, $179 for the one that would suit our needs best, or click, 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 click for only $30. Yes. So in your description of the why of what is this for, that is something that you just do not hear people ask. Like you said, it's like, here's an implement. Right. This is what you do with it. But your curiosity, are you an engineer by trade or?
I am a engineer, not by default, but unfortunately by fault. Too often it is, pick up the thing, move it 6 inches, set it down, and 8 hours later I have a contraption that is 6 feet by 6 feet to move the thing 6 inches, at which point I realize, what the hell are you doing? Just move the thing 6 inches? So, yes, my kind of engineer brain, it is not by trade, it is not by education, but I have that kind of drive, and sometimes it allows me to create amazing things. Other times it gets to the end of it and I'm like, man, that was a lot of work to do something that should have been so much simpler.
Yeah. From the items that I've seen of yours over there, you have a very nice right brain, left brain balance, in that it is mechanically engineered just to perfection, and then it has this wonderful artistic side to it that you just don't see. I mean, it's so rare, really, to see something like that. So,
and I think that it is, it's imperative in what we do. There is so much investment of time and energy and self that goes into creating a particular experience. And that's what BDSM and kink is all about. It's about experiences. It's about feelings. It's about emotions. It's about connection. And the pieces that we use should accentuate that. They should add to that. They should be a complement to that. The investment of time and energy and self that goes into an experience, you should use a piece that has a commensurate level of investment, because that will add to it. Instead of, hey, we had an amazing scene and we used a thing, it should be, hey, we had an amazing scene and this thing added to it.
Right. Oh, I love that.
Through beauty, through elegance, through engineering, through simply, this is easier to use, so we didn't have to stop and monkey with it. Those kind of things. I want my pieces to add to what you do.
Now, are you right side or left side of the slash?
I am primarily dominant unless I'm told by my sub that I just screwed that up, in which I'd say sorry, because DSMS doesn't matter, still a relationship.
Yes. Let's dive into that a little bit, because that is something that I often say on the show here, that it's good to be polite. When you screw up, if you want to lead by example, you have to admit it.
Yes, you do.
So
ownership is not just ownership of a person, it's ownership of yourself.
Yes, and it has to start with you.
Yes.
Because if you don't own and control yourself, then how are you going to...
And it really is, the reality is that the control that we exert on others is play.
Yeah.
And the way that we are allowed to control others is by showing control of ourselves so that they want to give us their control. You can't actually force someone into this. They have to choose it. And so it really is about control yourself first, and then someone will say, here, please take this control for me.
Yeah, and if you ever hear somebody make that statement that you can't force somebody, and there's automatically someone chomping at the bit to say, oh, yes, you can. Or jokingly say, yes, because real slavery is not legal, but it's that but that throws that red flag.
Yes, it does.
So, well, now you've been here at DomCon 4 years.
Yep.
How long has Torrid Timber been in existence?
About 5.
Officially.
Yeah.
5 years.
Yeah.
So so you've been officially in the scene for 5-6 years?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
And you do other cons?
Yeah, and that's part of the fun is, like I said, the personality of each convention is a little bit different.
So,
some of them are networking, some of them are sales, some of them are, it all just kind of depends.
Right. So you've seen and done a lot, I would imagine, because you certainly don't seem like the type of person that's going to build something without trying it out or having a quorum of people to test it out for you.
Yep. There are some people that, that I hear play with this, and some of them consider themselves lucky, some of them do not. It all depends. Oh my God, what did you do? No, not that.
Okay, have you tried your own CBT device?
I know it fits because it's important.
I have elephantitis. I might need to use the one for breasts on my junk. No, I'm just kidding. It's a bad joke.
The thing, though, is that too often that happens, though. It's I need to be careful that I don't design for me. I need to look at something and go, yeah, that's something I would like. It came out of my idea, but then I need to look at it from another point of view, not just from the submissive side, but also from, how would this be taken by someone who is brand new? How would this be taken by someone who has 30 years of experience? How would this be taken for photography as opposed to just play? How can I make this so that it is not just for a lifestyle, but how can I make small changes so it better fits the pro-dom world? Because everything is a little bit different. There are 1,000 different facets to the kink BDSM community. And so it's important to actively look for those other perspectives, both in myself and in giving it to people and saying, here, tell me what you'd change. And I love it when I hand it to them and they say, this is amazing. That feels good, but it's when they say, I like it, but what about out. That's the actual value.
Yeah, I do the same thing with the show. People, oh, I love your show. What do you love about it? I'm not selling it. It's free. It's out there for everybody. But if I'm going to make it the best it can be, then I'm going to have to hear what people like and, more importantly, what they don't like.
It's an evolutionary process.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, God, over the 3 years. So I've got enough time for one really, really good story. With all the years of these cons and hearing people tell their stories or what you've seen personally.
One of the stories that touched me the most, one of the things that is important for us is inclusivity. We are working on building a humbler that is adaptive to be used by trans men, because not all men have testicles. Mm-hmm. And then we do a kneeling stand that is for people that have difficulty kneeling but still want that as part of their service or submission. It is important to us to be inclusive because that is the market. Every single one of us, cis, able-bodied, doesn't matter, has some component that, boy, it would sure be easier if.
Yeah.
And so the kneeling stand, it has support arms that come up so that you can put weight on it to do the transition from standing to kneeling and have stability during that. It has support for the knees. It keeps the ankles at the correct position. It's about giving that back and allowing people to do that. It allows the submissive to come back to their feet with independence and dignity. When I am in a scene and I need to help the submissive back to their feet, I don't have a problem with that at all. It doesn't affect me. It's part of the connection. It's part of my service to them as the dominant. But it messes with their headspace.
Yes.
And that's not okay. And so I was at a show and a master-slave couple came through. The slave asked, "What is that?" And I explained it to her and showed, how it worked. And with almost fear, she kind of stuttered, I have really bad knees, but could I try it? And I said, absolutely. And I talked about how to be stable on it, how to do the transition. And she, scared of it all going wrong, but nonetheless, she did it. And right there at that moment, she kneeled for her master for the first time in 10 years.
Wow.
And they burst into tears, both of them. The whole room stopped and was in tears. And while I absolutely love creating beautiful pieces, and I love creating something better, and I love watching people enjoy them, that piece that brings that back, that part of who they are back, that's probably the thing I'm most proud of.
Wow. And we did not talk about that beforehand. I just kind of said, hey, you've been doing this for a while. I love what I saw at his booth, and talking to his helper and briefly talking to him, I realized that there was a connection, that we do things for the same reasons. So my cryptors know that I don't endorse people.
Yeah.
Unless I believe in them, unless I've typically used their product. There's been you and one other vendor here, the only two people that I've sat down with, and it's for that reason, is because I could see the passion in you, and I knew. I kind of knew before you started what the story would be. even though I hadn't talked to you about it, because I can see that it's not just a job or a career or a company or a kinky thing that you do, but it is a passion and a true love of life and helping others. So thank you so much for that.
My pleasure.
What is that website again?
TorridTimber.com.
And not only are you the owner, but what was the title that you gave yourself?
On my business card, I say, Director of Product Development, but really it runs into Chief Sadistic Engineer.
Chief Sadistic Engineer. I love that. All right. Well, links to TorridTimber.com will be in the show notes to make it easy on you. All you have to do is swipe left, right, up, or down in your podcatcher. Check out what they have to offer. You will not be disappointed. I guarantee it.
And you can also connect with us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Just search for Torrid Timber. Also on FetLife under Torrid Timber.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Thank you so much to Chris from Torrid Timber and Ashley, the Crafty Hedonist, for sitting down to talk with me at DomCon Los Angeles 2019. Also, thank you to the show producers, Lily Chaos, a pro producer, executive producers, Jeremiah, Arcane DGR, and Violet Aurelia, Feline Rouge, Baby Love 2269, and Faisal. Senior producers, Matt, Emerald Wolf, JK, Sort Out the Kinks, Delilah, Sir Mutual Respect, and Master Gabriel. Producers, Kane Sin, That Place in Oklahoma City. That is a Dungeon. Thank you, Miter. Roxy Bear, Olive Eyes, Zine, and Alexandria. Junior producers, K2SO, Buffalo Dom 84, Leysumi, Haley, and Morgan. If you'd like to become one of the show producers, visit our website, cauldronscrypt.com. Click on the support tab to get that information. Also, bdsmcontracts.org for their beautiful 25-page soft and hardbound MS and DS contracts. Uses a coupon code Cauldron20, that's KULDRIN20, for 20% discount on all purchases. Daycollars.com, a place for personalized handmade collars, leashes, cuffs, and belts. And finally, whippingstripes.com, my personal maker of all things leather and paracord impact toys. Now, as you heard me say in both interviews, I don't endorse anybody who I don't know. So these are all products that I know, love, and use. I do highly recommend that you check them out. All of my contact information is in the show notes. This has been Master Cauldron, Ashley with the Crafty Hedonist, and Chris from Torrid Timber for cauldronscrypt.com. Unearth the truth.